What is up, people? We are back going over the Dolphins news today. I want to start out first by saying, you know, shout out Jaelan Phillips. I hope and wish the best for him. He was a guy that I was always a big fan of. Regardless of how you see him, I'm really hoping that he has a lot of future success, whether it's with the Eagles or he ends up, going somewhere else in free agency after the fact. But yeah, the Dolphins traded Jaelan Phillips for a third-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. It was for the actual Philadelphia pick because they had 3, so we're going to probably get a late third-rounder there from them. The Dolphins now have 3 third-round picks, which is pretty good. Dolphins haven't had third-round picks, or they haven't drafted. They had a third-round pick last year, but they traded out, so they have not picked in the third round in a couple of drafts now. I think 2 straight at least. And I actually think, round 3 is actually a pretty big moneymaker round for GMs. Big difference there for a lot of people. But yeah, we'll break this down and go over it. I actually think it's a good deal for both teams. I think that's something. I feel like people always try to talk about who fleeced who made the bad side of the deal, who won. I actually think it's a good deal for both teams. I think the Eagles were a team that could afford to give up a third round pick. Then I think the Dolphins were in a position where they are looking to trade away players. And if you could get third round value for Phillips, because Jaylen Phillips, obviously a very good player, but when you look at him in a contract year, like he is going to be a free agent in, how many games are left? Like 7, 8 or whatever, in that many games. And he has a big injury history. To get a third round pick for that is actually pretty good. Like I honestly expected like a 4th rounder. So getting a late third, and they're paying most of his salary for the rest of this season for that 5th year option. I actually think it's pretty fair. And what would be funny? I actually did think like this is very unlikely, but I do think the funniest scenario is imagine he doesn't re-sign with the Eagles and he just comes back to Miami. That would actually be insane and pretty funny. But yeah, so getting a third hurts, but it's a good trade. No pun intended. Yeah, I agree. I think it's solid overall. I think it's good for both parties. I think he's a high reward player, but also a high risk player because of that injury history. And you usually don't get that type of value for someone that has that great of injury history. Like you usually are lucky to get anything. Appreciate that, Noir. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles don't love the Eagles either, but we spent a number 1 on him. Yeah. Happens all the time. That was years and years ago. Yeah, I think it's fairly fair. I'm not have a problem with it. So now the Dolphins pick. They have 1 pick in round 1, 1 in round 2, 3 in round 3. They currently have 1 in round 4. They might end up getting 2 in round 4. It does depend on the Javon Holland comp pick. We still are not sure. It really depends on how much Melifonwu or NWI play the rest of the year. I'm hoping that they can get that comp pick for Holland. I hope that they have that in mind because that would be very helpful getting a nice 4th round comp pick. They have 1 pick in round 5 and 1 pick in round 7. Now, another report just came out, I believe, from Jordan Schultz saying the Dolphins are open to trading Minkah Fitzpatrick, and there has been interest from multiple teams. Minkah, I don't know what the value would be because when we traded for Minkah, it was more like a Ramsey trade straight up. So, I imagine, I don't know, I think Minkah has played pretty solid this season. I'm actually okay with either keeping Minkah, trading Minkah. I really just depends on the value because I actually think they can get away moving off his contract pretty cleanly, at least, going into next season. And the Dolphins, that's the problem. The Dolphins are not in a good position cap-wise next year, no matter what they do. Like, they're not going to be in great spot cap-wise. So next year, I think the draft is what really, really matters. So that's kind of how I'm looking at that. I'm down to trade Minkah. I'm still down to trade Bradley Chubb. I would definitely trade Bradley Chubb still. I have no problems. Even Chop, in concussion protocol, I would still trade Bradley Chubb. I don't see him as a part of the long-term plan at all. I would trade all the people that aren't going to be here next year. trade them all. Trade Judon. If someone offers you, a 7-6 swap for Judon, take it. I would trade. I've seen people say Rasul Douglas. I would also be down to trade Rasul Douglas, even though he's been one of your better defensive players. That's just where we're at. Miami should have kept him. He was their best defensive player. Yeah, I do agree that he was definitely arguably our best defensive player. He's definitely one of them for sure. But it's not about that. I think people are forgetting the other details. I feel like context matters greatly in this situation. He was about to get paid a big contract. Could the Dolphins actually afford to pay him a big contract? I don't know. And then could they actually afford to pay him a big contract with that injury history, and especially the problems the Dolphins have had with injuries? Because, the second we sign to a big contract, and if he gets hurt again, there's going to be revolt in the fan base. People are going to be complaining about it. And I think, it's fair to have that concern. So I understand why people would not want to trade him, but I also think it's very reasonable that they did. Trade Zach Sealer. I don't think Zach would be worth it, because I think that actually hurts you really bad cap space wise, because you just extended Zach. So I think that would really hurt you from a cap perspective. And I don't think you would get really that good of value for Sealer. So I don't think that one really makes sense unless you got like some crazy pick, which is unlikely. But yeah, currently with that, Dolphins paying off most of the remaining salary this season, which, I mean, it's not my money, so I don't really care. I'd rather do that to get the higher draft pick, just because I think draft is how you build your team at this point. I think it's the best way. Dolphins need as many picks as possible. Give the GM, next GM, as much ammo as needed, and hopefully they can hit on it. If they don't hit on it, you were gonna fail anyways. But yeah, what's the rest of your guys' thoughts on the trade? Because I mean, I've had to argue. It's funny. I've had people on Twitter arguing with me from both sides. People being like, Jaylen Phillips sucks, which is not true. Jaylen Phillips does not suck. He is a good player. But also had people being like, this is the worst trade ever. Like, acting like it's some crazy thing to trade away Jaylen Phillips, who's in a contract year and has a major injury history, Because I don't think either side's that crazy. Who would you not trade? I mean, yeah, I would say the players I'm not trading that just don't make sense from pretty much any perspective is Waddle, Achane, Patrick Paul, Chop Robinson. Obviously, your rookies, like, you're just not really, like your early round rookies, you're not really going to get you're just not going to get the right value for those guys for what they bring. Like Achane, you're not going to get that high of a pick for Achane. He's a running back, and, he's still got a couple years on his contract. It just doesn't really make sense to trade Achane. Waddle, you're not like, he still has a pretty friendly contract for you in terms of like what you would pay him for the next couple of years, but it would hurt you long term to trade him from a contract perspective. And then also like value wise, I don't think you're gonna get great value for him. Different people are talking about the Dodgers and the Eagles. I mean, it's hard to compare baseball and football with no cap in baseball. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, anyone could be had for the right price. Even if you can say anyone for the right price, even Patrick Paul. But I just don't think you're going to get a price for guys like Achane, Waddle, Paul, Chop. And I think you're going to need a lot of those players for the long term. Trade Achane is not going to be him when McDaniel leaves. I mean, we can't really say that. We don't even know who the new offensive coordinator is. And to be fair, yeah, there's definitely a new player caller that could come in and not maximize Achane's skill set, but we don't know who that would actually be. So I'm not really thinking that he's like an automatic trade. I mean, if you were going to get like a super good value pick for Achane, like, yeah, you have to consider it, but I just don't see teams desperate to trade for a running back. Is Waddle a second or third pick value? Waddle is a first round. I would like literally, I've seen the reports. I don't know if you guys have seen the reports, but like Dolphins are willing to listen for Waddle, but it's a first round pick. And to me, I'm not even listening to the trade offer if it doesn't start with first round. It just doesn't make any sense for Miami to do that. In my opinion, on the roster right now, I think Waddle has probably, I would say Waddle and Paul and Achane and then Chop. Those guys would have like the most value in terms of what pick you would get. I think Waddle would probably get you the highest pick. It's tough to say between him and Paul because I think Waddle's the better player. They both play pretty important positions, but Paul is still on a rookie contract and younger, but Waddle is also still quite young. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I just don't see Waddle getting traded, because if that's the offer, I don't see teams offering that. And I don't really want to trade Waddle because I'm very high on Waddle. I think we've seen what he's capable of as a player, especially without Tyreek Hill, putting up very good stats. I'm sure it wouldn't be 2 first-round picks. I'm sure it would be a first and like a solid player, or like a first and another decent pick. I don't think they would ask for 2 firsts. I'm sure they would take like a first and a third. But no, I don't think any team will offer that unless they're super desperate. It is funny. I actually, I posted like a Jaelan Phillips highlight today. I actually edited that yesterday because I was like, I made a Jaylen Phillips highlight and a Bradley Chubb highlight, and I edited it yesterday just being like, you know what, I'm expecting at least one of these guys to get traded, so I'll just make that public once they do get traded, because I'm sure people will want to view that, whichever team he gets traded to. And it can be like a farewell video, because that video has 5.5k views. And it's been up for like 3 hours, which is very good. You know? And I know this will be a long shot, but anyway, we can move Tua or release him. Like I said, no, it's a long shot. I think in this offseason, there's a few different ways they can go about it. I do actually think probably the most friendly way to do it is if you're not going to trade him now, but if they were going to move off Tua in the offseason, I think the best way would just to be to trade him to someone that would maybe be looking for a bridge QB, but we don't know as of yet if anyone's looking for like a bridge quarterback like that. I think that's the best way from a cap perspective. They could also cut him post June 1st next year, and that would spread out his dead money over the next 2 seasons. And that would probably make more sense because 2027 is the year where the Dolphins actually get some cap space to work with. But I don't know. I'm not like a super big cap expert. Like I understand it at like a basic level, but I'm not like it's not my expertise. Really want Mendoza. Mendoza will be in play. I mean, you're probably gonna have to pick a little bit higher because I think Mendoza is gonna go pretty high. I think the Dolphins currently have the 4th pick. I really like Mendoza and Ty Simpson. I'm a big fan of both of them. But like, I also don't think just getting them will be the answer. The Dolphins have a lot of work to do beyond quarterback to fix this team. Because I also wouldn't be surprised if they keep Tua next year too. They could draft a quarterback next year, keep Tua, have Tua play for you for another year because it makes more sense to cut him the year after. That is also a possibility. I think that depends on who your coach would be. If McDaniel stays, I think that's probably the best move if McDaniel stays another year is keep Tua. You can still draft a quarterback round 1. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, I mean, Tua is still a quarterback that you can win with. I still think the injury thing is Tua's biggest concern. I know he hasn't got injured this year, but that's still a huge concern of mine. It's just the situation around him has gotten worse, and that has, I think, been the Dolphins' downfall this year. Yeah, and Mendoza did grow up in that area, and I know his family's like Dolphins fans and stuff, so that would be cool. But yeah, more third round picks. They're gonna need them. They have a lot of positions to fill. There's a lot of guys like that I like in that day 2 area. I don't know if you guys watch. Like, there's this corner from San Diego State named Chris Johnson. Big fan of him. I might make a film breakdown pretty soon. I would say in this upcoming week, I'm going to start making more draft stuff. I'm going to be streaming. If the Dolphins make more trades, I'm going to be, making stuff talking about that. I think a lot of players are still, like we can go through the players that I mentioned. I think are very much up to go because Minka, obviously, we just saw him kind of Minka. I think Chubb is still an option. I know you wouldn't really have any edges, especially if Chop misses next week, but I think it's fine, I think Rasul Douglas might have some late round value. Might as well try to get a pick for Rasul Douglas, who won't be here next year. If you can get anything for Judon, which I don't know if you actually would, go for it. I'm not sure of any other maybe I've seen Jalen Wright's name thrown around. I guess it depends on what pick you would get. I still would have liked to see the Dolphins actually give him some opportunities, but they haven't. Best wide receiver in this class. This wide receiver class is actually pretty good. I would say the top two, as of right now, I think it's Jordan Tyson, Arizona State receiver, and then Carnell Tate, Ohio State receiver. I like both of them a lot. I also like Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon to me is like a Emeka Egbuka, Amon-Ra St. Brown type. A little bit shorter, but he is that really smart separator type. Just gets open, and then when he isn't open, he can make tough catches. I think he's just going to be a good football player. Receiver class is good. KC Concepcion is good from Texas A&M. Very explosive, quick twitch type. Denzel Boston's like the bigger body, contested catch receiver out of Washington. Chris Brazzell from Tennessee is another good name to know. Too many scared plays on his part. Yeah, definitely, especially early on in the season. I don't think it's been as bad lately. I think he's made some plays that maybe look scared, but those were plays more so when the game was over. But yeah, he's definitely had too many plays like that this year. But yeah, would not be surprised to see Minka traded here pretty soon, especially with all the reports talking about it. And Minka's played pretty good ball this year. It's just, is Minka really a part of this organization long term? I just don't know if I see that. I really have no idea what his value would be. Like a fifth? Any good DBs? Yeah, I think the safety class is really strong, and I think the corner class is also pretty good as well. So some good DBs out there. I like the DB class. I think the defensive side of the ball is really good, actually. I think the whole side of the defense, like the defensive line is pretty good. Linebacker, off-ball linebacker and safety is like way stronger than usual, so you can definitely get some defensive side of the help on the ball. Also, trading Minka would mean more Dante Trader, and I want to see more Dante Trader. We got to see what we have out of these rookies. I would also like to see more Jason Marshall, because we need to see if any of these people can be starters for you next year. Because some of them might be forced to be starters just because there's only so many people that you can add. But you need to at least be able to feel good in certain spots. You guys trading Waddle? I would say it's very unlikely. He would be like the most unlikely player, I think, on the team to get traded. Or one of them. Are there some 2 to 3 round edges you like? Yes. I haven't fully deep dove on the edge class, but I like David Bailey. He's got some good film. He might even go round 1. I just don't know because he is maybe seen as a little bit undersized, but that guy gets after it. So I'm going to definitely start studying the edge class a little bit more. Because that was one that I hadn't fully deep dove into yet. I've been watching a lot of DBs recently. I've watched a chunk of the off-ball linebackers. Do you want Champ Kelly hired as the new GM? I would probably prefer to go elsewhere. I missed it because I just joined. Do you think third is worth for Phillips? I think it's worth it, Nicholas. I think it's actually a pretty fair trade on both sides. I think both sides kind of got what they needed. And I think when you consider Phillips' injury history, and you also have to consider that he was about to be a free agent, like he's going to get a big contract, I think getting a third is a late third. I would say middle third was probably best case scenario. So getting like a late third is pretty solid, because I was thinking they're probably going to get like a fourth. Like, wouldn't be surprised if, like, but I guess, teams were definitely, I think, bidding on the Dolphins' edges, because the Dolphins were one of the only edges to go out there and make those moves. And I know people are concerned because it's always like against the Eagles, and the Eagles are a very good trading team. But I think both teams can get a win in a trade because of like the different situations that they're in. I'm trying to see. I'm waiting for one day. One day we're going to get a trade while we're live, and it's going to be great, but who knows? Let me go. I have the picks right here. As of right now, we have 1 in round 1, 1 in round 2, 3 in round 3, 1 in round 4, 1 in round 5, 1 in round 7. So we got 1 in every round except round 6, and then we have 3 in round 3. And we might have another round 4 pick. It's still up for grabs. It depends on the Holland comp pick, and that all depends on playing time for Melifonwu or NWI. One of them has to like not meet a playing time threshold, so it might be time to just cut Melifonwu. Because like we don't really need to play him, because he's on a 1-year deal anyways. So we get that extra 4th. And then for like a guy like Chubb, you can get like around 6-ish pick, I would guess. Yeah, and the third, one of the thirds will be ours, so probably early third. Ones will be Houston, so probably middle third round, and the one will be Philly, so probably later third round. And I've been saying this for a while. I think third round is a very good round to like separate GMs from. Because yes, I think the highest hit rate is in the first round. You should be good at drafting in the first round. Like, yes, you're gonna have your misses, and the bad GMs do definitely have their misses. Second round's another, I think, big one. I think day 2 is very important. Day 3 is a crapshoot, and a lot of GMs go to their scouts for day 3. Like, if you look at a lot of teams, like a scout will have their guy get picked, so they put a lot of the, like, day 3 on their scouts. So like round 3 to me is like really where GMs can separate themselves, but who knows? If the season were to end today, who will you draft with the 4th pick? I mean, it's tough to say because I guess I wouldn't know who's there, but I would either take top QB or Ruben Bain Jr. Mm-mm. I don't know, man. I think it's very rare to even get a 3rd round pick for a guy that's probably going to leave in a contract year in 7 games, and also has an extensive injury history. And I love Phillips. I think he's a good player. I think he's quite good. But he medically retired in college, and then is also coming off torn Achilles, torn ACL in the past 2 seasons. I think they're lucky that they got a 3rd. And they're in like rebuild mode. If they were in a mode where like, hey, you still want to, compete next year, then yeah, keep him. Mendoza, Bailey, Dunker, Surratt, Sab, Chris Johnson. Yeah, it's not bad. Dunker depends on the scheme for sure. Dunker is just so unathletic in my opinion. So they'd have to be playing pretty gap scheme, heavy scheme. Surratt's, yeah, not bad. Those are all just arguments confirming that I shouldn't have been drafted where he was. I mean, well, the Achilles and ACL thing, not really. You can't really predict that was going to happen. Because he retired for concussion reasons, if I remember correctly, in college. Or he was medically retired for concussion reasons. That doesn't really translate to like torn ACL and torn Achilles. But plus also, I'm not sure how the contract here. But hey, you can take my words and try to twist them to confirm what you were trying to say. And I love Chris Johnson. Would love Chris Johnson. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Johnson goes round 2. Yeah, that's why it's hard to predict like what's the best picks when you don't know what kind of schemes you're going to be running on either sides of the ball at this point. There's certain guys that like it doesn't really matter that much, but for guys like Dunker. Well, he also doesn't know how to finish a sack. Well, pick a struggle, C. Nelson. Was it a bad trade or a good trade? His first he's in his prime, it's not a good pick. Well, now it's he can't finish sacks. Should they have made the trade or not made the trade? And to me, like, yeah, I would like to see him finish more sacks. But pressure is much more important, in my opinion, for edge rushers. Because I'd rather have a guy like Phillips, the one who gets the pressure, than a guy like Chubb, who doesn't really get pressure. Yeah. I think it's a good trade for both sides. Solid. And, like, if you're the Eagles, you're hoping he stays healthy, and I hope he does. Like, definitely wouldn't want that. I didn't say it's a bad trade. Okay, well, you said it's not good. Keep HA and everyone else can go. I would keep Waddle for sure. Keep Paul. Keep Chop. Keep Grant. Yeah, and I think the whole comp thing, like people saying just keep it for like a comp pick. I said it proves that you fucked up your draft pick when you're trading a mid-first rounder for a 4th. Never commented whether it's a good trade or it was a necessary trade. Okay. Sure, but it's pretty irrelevant to what we're talking about. Because as a player, I think as a player, just pure talent, him going in the mid-first round made total sense. And it still makes sense. It's just he had some very big injury history, or he had very big injuries with back-to-back Achilles and ACL, and now he's in a contract year. So I don't know. I don't really see the point of trying to bring that up personally. But hey, Chris Greer's gone. It don't matter. And it's the position the Dolphins are in. Any GM you like? I mean, it's. I've always said it's very tough to predict GM success because we don't know how much, say these guys had in these other buildings. But I like just going for some of the better drafting teams, like Agnew from the Lions or Dodds from the Colts, Hallaby from, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy Alec from the Eagles. All seem like decent options to me. Dolphins are currently plus 9.5 dogs versus the Bills. Ouch, that number might actually be good though if we. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if the Dolphins didn't fire sale, they could actually be pretty competitive in some of these games at the end of the season. But with their fire sailing, like trading Phillips definitely hurts you this season. Like he is one of your better players, but this season is done. And hopefully we can get Chop back. I think hopefully Chop can play because he seemed pretty messed up from that concussion last week. I think that's one of the biggest things about trading Phillips or Chubb or both was getting Chop more snaps because he was just getting way too many limited snaps. We need a number one corner as our top priority in the draft, right? I don't. I mean, it would be nice, but I don't think it's like top priority. I think the Dolphins have a lot of priorities that are equal, and I think it just depends on how free agency plays out. And then I'm honestly just drafting best player available. Dolphins, I would always draft BPA, but the Dolphins have so many needs that you just draft best player. There's some good corners though. Mansour Delane from LSU, I would say, is the top corner, and I could see him going pretty high in that class. Yeah, the Minka reports are out there. I also wouldn't trade Jordan Brooks. He's another name that I thought I've seen people maybe mention as trading. I don't think I would trade Jordan Brooks because he's someone, I think it's very hard to find off-ball linebackers. He's still relatively young. He has an extra year on that contract. Like, I think you could still extend him. And I don't think you're going to get a great pick compensation. So Brooks is not someone I would trade. Just want to throw that out there. Because he's another name that I guess is a possibility that I think teams might call about. Because Brooks is a good player. I just don't think that one would make sense to me. BPA. But yeah, I think that will probably end it. Of course, can't get a trade while we're live. Will probably happen. I mean, I don't think they're going to be done. Maybe they're done. I mean, it's not impossible for them to be done, but I would make a couple more trades at least. Going live all deadline tomorrow? I mean, I might go live tomorrow. It depends. I mean, they might trade before the deadline, and then I would just go live before then. I don't know if they'll actually help until the deadline. This might be the best trade Dolphins ever made. Best trade they ever made was Laremy Tunsil. I have to go make a Binka highlight just in case he's traded, just so I can upload that. But yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. Stop streaming.